ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at ILTV.tv and watch from any device. Now, speaking of government, we're roughly 6 months into the new coalition's leadership, and according to the latest polls, citizens are not impressed. In fact, the survey shows that the Lapid-Bennett cabinet largely unpopular, with a steadily dropping approval rating. That said, the survey also suggesting that while bad, it's not bad enough for a change. Israelis predicting that the alternative is more deadlock and elections, which they also do not want. So here to interpret this data is legal counsel for the Halel Likud Forum and Im Tirtzu, Ziv Maor, and Jeremy Saltan, political strategist and director for English operations with the Prime Minister's Yamina party. Thank you both so much for being with us. Now, Jeremy, I'm going to start with you. In a brief sentence, how would you rate the government's performance over the last 6 months?
Oh, obviously, I rate it amazing. Look, we were able to avoid a fifth elections after 4 elections within 2 years, and not just the possibility of fifth elections. I should say we were heading towards 6th and 7th and 8th elections. So that's a very, very big important thing. Another thing was that we were able to go through the latest wave of the coronavirus, of the Delta variant, without closing down the country. The first 3 waves led to 3 national shutdowns, hurting our economy. The 4th one we were able to do without a shutdown. And when it comes to the amazing level of the situation that we're seeing right now with the boosters and also with, of course, the younger population getting vaccinated, we're able to avoid a 5th wave, which is now going throughout most of Europe. So we're very happy about that as well. And of course, lastly, just passing the state budget. The Knesset was not able to vote and pass the state budget since March of 2018. It was a very, very big thing for us to be able to go ahead and pass this biannual budget. Of course, 2020 had no budget because we went through the entire year without being able to pass one. We went through virtually all of 2021 without it. In terms of making sure that we have stability moving forwards, and that stability is on the governance level of avoiding an election, on a level of being able to live alongside the corona as opposed to just shutting down every time another wave happens, as well as being able to pass a national budget, which honestly should not be a big achievement, but considering what we've seen the last few years, it definitely is.
All right, so Ziv, I want to get your take on this, your response and your review of the last 6 months.
First of all, I cannot see how this government can take pride in not shutting down the country while the fact was that they received a vaccinated country. When there is such an enormous percentage of the population vaccinated, which is the labor of the previous government, it is not something to take pride of not shutting down. Even if it was the previous government currently in control, there would have not been a shutdown. The fact is that the first month of this government, because of the way that they dealt with the Delta variant, were days of fear, similar to those that we've seen in the first waves, with one big difference. The population was vaccinated and was basically charged to receive the booster, the third dose of the vaccination, something that was delayed by this government and made the 4th wave way stronger and way scarier for the majority of the population than it should have been. Now, we've just heard Jeremy saying a bunch of stuff that this government also takes pride of. There is one thing that at least the Yamina party cannot take pride of, which is promoting the policies that they promised to its constituency and to the conservative voter in Israel. This is something that is not being done and cannot be done with the specific coalition that Yamina chose to collaborate with. And this is the reason that most of the public is currently disappointed with. This is not the government, the kind of government that most of the public voted for. Now, as long as there is no way to use the given assembly of the Knesset to promote a given policy, once again, there is no pride whatsoever in preventing a 5th election. Whatsoever, it's not it's a bad thing, because the public voted for a right-wing Knesset, and this is not what we voted for.
So, Jeremy, bouncing off of what Ziv just said, 43% of respondents in the poll said that they preferred the previous government under Netanyahu, over 36% who prefer this government. Similarly, 45% of those surveyed said that they preferred Netanyahu to be prime minister, as opposed to just 25% who prefer Bennett and 24% who prefer Lapid. based on all of the moments of pride, the accomplishments that you just listed, why do you think so many people are yet to be convinced?
Well, again, if you look at the data, you have what the reality is right now, and that is both in the data and in the current situation, as well as the election results, a majority of the people chose parties that did not commit to Netanyahu as prime minister, and Netanyahu is not passing 50% approval rating, nor is his bloc getting over 61 in any poll.
Well,
So
of course, neither I nor the survey are arguing that Netanyahu got a majority. But what the survey says is that he got a clear.
And look at the amount of undecided and people who say they don't know. But what it comes down to is every single poll does not show Netanyahu over 50%, nor does it show a 61 bloc for Netanyahu and his supporters in the right-wing bloc of the opposition. And going back to the things that were mentioned before in terms of corona, I'd like to remind our viewers that it was the Delta variant entered Israel under the previous government because they chose to close down the corona hotels and close down all of the testing centers. And it was actually the opposition who called on us to close.
Jeremy, this is not true.
I let you speak. I am going to now explain.
Right after.
I'm going to explain why you were wrong on the things that you said, because it's important to say these things. What happened was the previous government closed down the shop on when it came to all this stuff of feeding the corona because they said it was done.
All right, Ziv, Jeremy, thank you both so much.
Thank you very much for having me.